The Seneca Falls Convention in 1848 jump-started the women's rights movement by highlighting the discrimination that women were facing in the United States. According to the pamphlet announcing the convention, it was being called to discuss the social, civil, and religious condition and rights of women. During this convention, the Declaration of Sentiments, which outlined the grievances of women, was drafted and signed by 68 women and 32 men. Later pamphlets were made justifying the women's suffrage movement, including the following from the National American Women's Suffrage Association. It stated, among other reasons, that because women are citizens of a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and women are people, they should vote equally with men. Some important women of the women's rights movement include Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott, both main organizers of the 1848 Seneca Falls Convention, Susan B. Anthony, who along with Elizabeth Cady Stanton, formed the National Women's Suffrage Association, Lucy Stone, who formed the American Women's Suffrage Association with her husband, and Mary Church Terrell, the first president of the National Association of Colored Women, which promoted women's suffrage and also campaigned against lynching and Jim Crow laws. In order to obtain the vote, individuals and groups took part in a variety of activities, such as distributing pamphlets, organizing pro-suffrage conventions, and participating in marches. However, not everyone was for the women's suffrage movement. Groups formed against it, and pamphlets and political cartoons were made advocating against allowing women the right to vote. In the end, those for women's suffrage were successful and the 19th Amendment was passed, which states that the right of citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. This map shows the states that allowed women the right to vote prior to the 19th Amendment and the year each state allowed it. After gaining the right to vote, women's equality stood at a standstill. It wasn't until the start of World War II that women would get another chance to work towards equality. When World War II began, the men left their jobs to go fight, and as companies needed workers, they turned to the nation's women. Women worked in factories, mines, the army, and any other place they were needed, much to the surprise of men. When the war ended, the men came home and wanted their jobs back. Women were expected to go back to their homes and be homemakers, even though many of the women were upset by this. However, most women went back to their homes and stayed there. The 1950s created the stereotypical idea of the American housewife, women that cooked, cleaned, and did other household chores in dresses and high heels. Many of these women were tired of life in the home and became depressed. Soon more and more women would begin to work outside of the home. It wasn't until the late 60s and early 70s that women began going to college and earning degrees in order to advance themselves professionally. As more and more women joined the working class, they were faced with a new obstacle, the glass ceiling. The term glass ceiling describes a situation where a qualified person within a company is stopped at a lower level of work position due to discrimination. Slowly, women have been breaking through the glass ceiling, though not at a rate expected for current times. In the years to come, women are expected to have more corporate jobs than men. We shall have to see.